meetings?
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. Thanks. This is script for remotely conducted open meetings. Okay, hopefully I'm reading the right one, but just make sure. So first off, we're recording. Okay. All right, so members of the public wishing to participate in the meeting must use their full name for Zoom access. If full names are not used, people will not be allowed to participate in discussion. The town reserves the right to remove any member of the public from the meeting who doesn't use the full name or acts inappropriately. As a preliminary matter, this is David Sharp, Visitor Services Coordinator. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Matt Peel.
Here.
Sharon Quigley.
Here.
Peter Morrison.
Here.
Mary Malvez.
Here.
Joshua Gray.
Here.
Janet Schulte.
Here.
Okay, and Garrison is in. Welcome, Garrison. All right. Actually, staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Janet Schulte.
Here.
David Sharp here. Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Garrison, that would be you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good morning. This is open meeting of the Visitor Services Advisory Committee. It is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting of the Visitor Services Advisory Committee, it's convening via video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that any other folks might be able to see you and to take care not to share your screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the meeting. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. And that, I believe, is that. Actually, one more thing. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public who have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged by and speak through the chair. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. That's it.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. I think we need to call to order. Motion to call to order the Visitor Services Advisory Committee meeting for April 12th, 2022. Make it a second.
Second by Peter.
All right. And then we need to approve the minutes from the last meeting, March 8th. Is there any comment before we vote to approve? All right, motion to approve March 8th minutes of the Visitor Services Advisory Committee. Second.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All right. Garrison, thank you so much for joining us today. I guess if you could start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do here on the island.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate
Sure.
it. So my name is Garrison Beal. I'm the general manager of the Grain Hotel Group. We have 4 hotels now, we're in our portfolio. So we have Graydon House, of course, and we also have Periwinkle Inn, Anchor Inn, and the newly acquired Martin House over on Center Street. So we have those 4 properties, couple houses here and there, but staff housing, which is a huge one, and one that we're developing over at 52 Union Street, next to the restaurant across the street from the Lightship Basket. That will be a extension of Graydon House, kind of a luxury accommodation that will be packaged with our hotel. I've been in the industry for about 16 years. Previous to coming to Nantucket 2 years ago, I was with Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts in New York, Boston, Palm Beach, and I was in the Caribbean for 2 years before I came here. So left one island for the other. It's a little bit colder here, but that's all right. I still like it.
Great. I think Janet and David invited you here today just to kind of increase our knowledge on what's coming up in the coming season here on the island. We keep hearing again and again it's going to be busier than ever. We've had some other guests in your industry kind of confirm that, but we would love to hear what you're experiencing this spring and what your anticipation is for the summer 22.
Thank you. I have done my due diligence, and I did listen to last meeting where John Bettino was on with you all, and I echo his sentiment, right? It's the weddings are kind of what's driving us this year.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at our forecast for the rest of the year, a lot of weekends, especially September, October, June, are already fully booked up at all 4 properties.
Okay.
And that's really putting a compression on everything. So it's great because we're layering in that business early, but and it's pushing everyone who wants to visit to those midweeks, which we love. But we're gearing up for another one for sure. I definitely echo his sentiment from last time and probably what you've heard already.
How about July and August? Is that higher than usual, on par with last year?
Booking pace, I think we're still a little bit down to last year as far as what we're looking at for July and August. I think when you look at, I believe the group gets the STAR report, right? And if you happen to look through the STAR report, you can see. So I'm sorry. So STAR report, I met with somebody from the company, and they're saying that the rates, average daily rates, are high through luxury properties throughout the whole United States. So that's what we're seeing. I think the market's being pushed in that direction, and so the peak months of July and August are a little bit slow getting going this year because I think a lot of hotels on the island are having historic ADRs for those months. So that's kind of where we'll start layering in eventually, but at this point, it's not as strong as previous years.
Peter, did you have your hand raised? No. Anyone have any questions for Garrison? David?
Garrison, can you go over the process of like what the consolidation is going on in the industry? It used to be mom and pop inns. Now it's all consolidating into companies that are owning 3 or 4 or 5 inns.
Yeah, it's funny because again, I watched last weekend, our last meeting, and I think John was posed the same question, and I think he said it eloquently with we're able to put some of that capital in. I think if I can give Brass Lantern a little kudos, because I was able to walk that property for the first time, seeing what it looks like. It looks great, and she's taking good care of it, and it looks fantastic. And that's just a small example of what hopefully everyone's doing. But I think with these companies coming in, we're not trying to change anything per se. We're just trying to upgrade it and make it look what it is. Martin House, which we just took over in November, we have no plans to change anything on the inside for the near future, for year out at least. We want to kind of maintain that Nantucket feel, but provide the amenities that the guests are coming to Nantucket for. Concierge services, restaurant planning. I think everyone knows how difficult it is to get a restaurant reservation in August. So by using our connections, we can hopefully help out those guests, and they will. That's not something that really, I think, B&Bs have historically been able to do or want to do.
Sharon?
Thank you for coming, Garrison. It's a beautiful property, the Graydon House, and congratulations on the new role. And I hope you fall in love with the island. I am a longtime Nantucket visitor, now permanent resident, and as I've seen the island change over time, my concern, especially with the consolidation of all these mom and pop bed and breakfasts, I wonder whether we think we're going to be squeezing out the lower end of the market. This used to be a very nice New England beach destination. Families could come here and afford to come on a vacation. Now it's very, very expensive, almost year round. And with all of the large groups buying up some of these more budget oriented inns and B&Bs, like, beachside just got gobbled up. Do you see any kind of appetite for a more family-friendly budget offering on the island that a large company might decide to create, or is everybody just going to go upmarket and this is going to be the Hamptons pretty soon?
Hopefully not the Hamptons. I think this is not just a almost hotel inn question. It's, you look at what's going on with the short-term rental market, housing, it's a ongoing issue that we have on the island that I've seen for the 2 years, and has increased post-COVID. Everybody's looking for it right now, right? Everyone's driving those rates if they can get it. Why would I rent my house to somebody for the month of July for $1,000 a month? It's the way that market's shifting, and unfortunately, unless there's a large scale property that is able to run a high occupancy, lower ADR, then I don't think we're personally going to see that coming back. Our 3 inns, Martin House, Anchor Inn, and Periwinkle, are considered, we consider them on the lower end side of the market. And, the rates are going to climb too, though, because that group, that clientele is going to start shifting accordingly.
Yeah.
So it will be a challenge for sure. And then obviously with the fairgrounds news yesterday, and we're going to just continue to see these little things disappear. I don't have the solution as to how we can bring that back.
What was the fairground news that I missed?
I was in the current yesterday.
Putting it up for sale.
Put for sale.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's it. It's sad to see. And you just hope that people, when they come in, and when we bought the Martin House from Lisa Soder, that was the message. We're not going to change anything. We're not looking to modify much there. Just give it the continued stewardship that she had been giving it for the past 20 years.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you not driving everything completely to the top of the market.
Try not to.
Thank you.
Matt?
So how's staffing looking for you guys? I know you guys have some staff housing, which really helps. Housekeeping, that kind of stuff. Because you guys' F&B staffing, I believe, I'm not sure, but how's housekeeping, staffing, front desk, and all that? I mean, are you guys seeing a lot of resumes coming in? Is it just, I know most people are struggling because of the housing side, but if you have the housing, are we still seeing people that are even trying to get out here?
For us, we are a little lucky. This was a decision made by our owners when they first decided to come to Nantucket in 2016 and do the Graydon House, which is to have year-round staff housing that's complimentary for the team members. We stay open during the winter to keep them busy and keep them here. Employee retention is crucial for us. And so we have a year-round team that goes on vacation, of course, in January, February, but comes back, and we have that house for them, and we make it paramount to keep them happy and with us, because we know how difficult it is to bring somebody new on. Not as many resumes that are coming across my desk as, say, as I joined in February pre-COVID, had a lot coming in then. And then my understanding in 2019, we had a lot coming in. We're going to see how we're not doing J1s or H2Bs this year. We're going to see how everyone else kind of brings in people. My understanding is that J1s are always looking for more work. So if we can pick up somebody there, but otherwise we, again, have a core team. Each inn has an innkeeper and at least one full-time year-round housekeeper that is with them. So we're in a blessed state because of that. But I know the restaurant, for instance, is not, that's by Taylor and Dre with Ventuno and Pizzeria Gemelli. They also had a staff housing purchase, I think, this past off season, and that's just the way businesses have to go to, I think, these days.
Mary and then Peter. Mary, I saw you had your hand up before.
Thanks, Josh. Couple of questions. First of all, what's your increase in your ADR this year percentage-wise from last year? Obviously, it's based on, I mean, the acquired properties have a huge debt service, so I get it. And I get why you have more than one. It's economies of scale. You can spread things over. You can do group buying. You can share employees. I mean, I understand that. But I'm concerned about the whole island not having the staff, and we're pushing the envelope on the rates. Sharon took my thoughts exactly about, losing that middle market. But if the middle market can't get someone to wait on them or do whatever, they're not going to come back. They're going to find some other place to go. Now, obviously, this is a national issue, not just ours. This is what COVID has done to us. But I'm concerned about your percentage from last year. Did you push it?
We are up. The number, so we have obviously the numbers in our system. It's hard to say because we've switched to a new way. I told you at the beginning of the call, we have the wedding groups that are booked. In the past, we would just put those out of order in the system and we wouldn't count them as expected revenue. Now that we're doing that, it has changed our year over year. So if I were looking at it, we're probably about the 20 to 25% increase in ADR.
From last year, and last year was up too. So if we're seeing a 40% increase over 2 years, that's a lot.
Correct.
I think for the average person that used to come over and and stay at the Anchor Inn and do whatever. But and my concern is we push that envelope too much, and you'll be packaging midweek in July and August, just to get heads in beds. So I'm concerned about that. Obviously, we've seen this fluctuation over the years. I mean, we used to do job fairs at the high school because those kids had housing and, and they could bus tables and they could, be a chambermaid and that. But I think that's, one of my main questions is, being concerned for lack of service because of lack of staff. And, and the bubble will burst, and if the economy goes south, the rates will have to adjust. Can you just give us an idea of what your low end to high end is in a range?
Yeah, for our low end rate over at one of the properties, and again, going back to your original point, it's the Graydon house will see the largest ADR fluctuation because it's a luxury property. As we trickle down to Periwinkle, for instance, that's going to be less of an increase, and we're running rates there in the mid 200s in season. So it's not necessarily pricing people out there. And to your point, the economies of scale is what really drives us to have that additional Martin house, because then we can move people throughout. We have the housing already. So yeah, to answer your point, absolutely. The housing will be a problem for everyone on the island. Finding staff is still going to be a challenge for all of us. Even I'm looking to fill a couple positions. To your point, I don't have housing for an innkeeper at Graydon House, and I've been trying for the past year to find somebody on island who lives here already and is able to do that role. And that's a challenge because everyone needs housing on this island. But yeah, with our smaller properties, I don't think there's as much of an ADR difference. And especially in the shoulder months, like we all know July and August, we're going to be running in the mid 90 percentile in occupancy, no matter what the rate is. People come. It's those shoulder seasons that's where we have the drop in occupancy, where we're trying to fill up. So June, May, June, obviously October, those are the months that we're trying to drive the occupancy rather than the ADR. And so you'll see the better rates.
Yeah, and it's the same. If you put heads in beds, the restaurants will do well, so. I mean, that's what you need. And you need that midweek packaging. You need groups have fallen off a bit other than social, because a lot of people, are still working remotely. But, the group market used to be huge in June, September, and October. So I think that may come back. It may never come back, that they're going to travel. They'll have a lobster roll in their boardroom, but they may not travel, the distance. So anyway, thanks very much.
Thank you, Mary.
Peter?
This is a little bit off topic, but I'm just curious, do you ever get do you have clients who bring to you groups from abroad, like we got 15 people from Australia who want to go to Nantucket. They don't know, and they just kind of book the whole thing. And are you able to sort of seamlessly put them up in maybe two separate places if one place isn't enough, given the price range? I mean, does that kind of business transpire as any significant part of your world, or you don't get into that at all?
Not really, Peter. International travel, our markets are Boston, New York.
I get you. Okay.
DC. We don't put any advertisement out into European papers or really court that travel agency in Europe. There was one that was looking to try to drive some UK travelers to us. We do see some UK, but it never really bounced off. That was around COVID time. So, but no, we don't see that too often. And to your second part of the question about groups, yeah, we do get that. We do have that spread of rain. We do have that rate spread. We have a great guy who works with us, and he handles the rates at all properties, and he ensures on a daily basis that what's a suite here is a room here, and there's the gap, what rooms are between it, so we aren't kind of going crazy on one type of room at one property while the other one's at this rate. So we can offer guests that spread of rates from, as I said, that mid 200s at Periwinkle up to the $1,600 at Graydon in the season for a suite. So we do.
So you're positioned, so you are in effect one entity that can kind of act like you have a gigantic set of accommodations. They just happen to be spatially separate. It's as though you had a sprawling property that was a square mile, and you said, well, we can meet all your needs, which gets me to my other question, which is, I wonder, if you're seeing anything at all now that you have a group in terms of a market for business offsites, not in the summer, but that are pushing us into the fall and late fall season. I'm just wondering if there's anything discernible there that you've seen so far with your properties.
I think we're all looking for that event on Nantucket that will extend the shoulder season a little bit more. And you look at Ellen Hildebrand weekend in January, Nantucket Hotel, that's fantastic. I wish we had something like that, because filling up a whole hotel for 2 weekends straight, it's great. So if you know any authors who are interested, please let me know. But no, not really, to answer your question. We don't really see that. We do have the fortunate pleasure that we've built out now since 2016 of having the 4 properties. We have that ability to have a reservations manager on island. She works at one of the properties, and she's able, when guests call in, to find out exactly what they want.
I get you.
If Graydon House doesn't work, hey, what about Anchor? What about Martin House? She's able to kind of read the guests and offer that service. So similar to how I guess White Elephant has the cottages and Jared Coffin and White Elephant, and while in it, that's kind of what we're also looking with our group, is to have that range of different options for the guests. So we're not telling somebody no, for instance.
Thank you.
Of course.
Anyone else? Sarah?
Yeah, this is just more of a comment on something you said. I really appreciate what you're saying about trying to keep as many staff year round as possible. I think that's something that, I've seen with obviously with a lot of the restaurants closing and that kind of thing, and it puts people in a really tough spot. And so the more that we can do that with, obviously it benefits you because then you retain those really trained, qualified staff. But I just appreciate that. And I hope that we can see more of that with some of these groups. Like you're saying, you're diversifying. The more properties you have, economy of scale, but then hopefully that trickles down to like the people having year-round positions as well. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Matt? Oh, you're muted.
Are you guys for staffing to the point of offering incentives?
I think I heard you correctly. I think it broke up a little bit, but are we offering incentives to people if they want to come in? Not at this point. As I said, I'm only looking to fill. My front desk team is basically set up for the summer. I'm looking for a few more housekeepers, but this is where I go back to what Sarah was commenting on before. If we have employee housing and you have to be in a room with somebody else, do you want it to be a stranger or do you want it to be somebody that you know? And I encourage my team members to back in December, January, say, hey, this year is going to be busy. If you know anybody that you like and want to spend some time with this summer on a personal level, please start contacting them now. And we're actually the two out of the 3 people who we're bringing in are family members or friends who will be joining us. So incentive isn't quite there. We did something last year, but that was on our ownership. So amongst all their properties and wasn't specific to Nantucket. But at this point, I'm one of the blessed ones that has staffing almost sorted out for the season. Very lucky.
Anyone else?
I just if we have time to brainstorm, I was just thinking there's an interesting parallel here between the model that we kind of need and the model that Garrison is kind of building out in terms of how you're conceptualizing it. Between that model and the model that the hospital uses to staff, visiting nurses, the kinds of, they have a well-developed process whereby they get people who are, let's say, on the move for the summer or willing to relocate. And if you can then add to it a family linkage, so you've got at least a beginning on the housing problem. It's an interesting idea for a model, and it may be that visitor services, not that we could do anything about it, but keep it in mind as a way of dealing with this chronic problem. The question is, you want to have atoms coming in, or do you want to have molecules coming in on a temporary basis?
I think and to your point, it's important to have the employees feel a little bit more empowered, because then they're deciding who's coming in. They've got people that they know and love, and it makes the team happier. Last year we decided, I went to the team, I said, listen, I can bring somebody in, a couple of you will have roommates, or you can enjoy your summer in peace, and you might have to work a little bit more. And they went the latter route, just because they decided to have a little bit of peace last year, but we'll change this year.
I'll throw one more topic at you, and then you can shut me up if we're running out of time. We all have been concerned about how the island ends up responding, however well or poorly, to weather-related travel disruptions that lead to nightmare scenarios. And I wonder, is there anything at your organizational level where you are, I'm sure you're thinking about it, but how would you respond if there were, some major problem where ferries were canceled for 2 days, airport is closed for 2 days, things are backing up, everything is out of kilter, and people who are coming here are having a very bad experience? I mean, do you think about that, or do you have anything in place to respond to it? Any ideas?
Sure. And again, I watched last week, so I knew I had the thought that this question was going to be coming. The only thing I can think of is there was a similar situation. Well, I wouldn't say similar. There was a very bad situation back in September 2001, excuse me, where airplanes were all grounded. And there was one place in the world where a bunch of airplanes landed. And that was, I think, Newfoundland or somewhere up in Canada.
Yeah.
And they didn't have enough houses for enough rooms for all these people landing. So the only thing I could even imagine, there's nothing I could do on the hotel side. If I don't have rooms, I don't have rooms. But if there's some sort of Nantucket's a wonderful community, right? We say this time and time again, people rally around when they need a rally. So if there was a list or a volunteer list or something where if you had an open room, you could be put on this email list where if a flight gets canceled, somebody sends a blast email to whoever volunteers, 80 people. If you've got a room, $200 a night for this room, last minute, if it's open, email back and we try to get that going. That's the only thing I could possibly think of where you have a large community who volunteers a room for a stranded flight when there's no occupancy and there's a fixed rate on that. So it's not price gouging and people can volunteer. If I've got an extra bedroom in my house, somebody can stay with me. I make $200 for the night and it's a quick Airbnb situation, but we support them that way. That's in my long thinking about this. That's the only feeling I have, because if there's no rooms, there's no rooms. So you've got to go find someone who has rooms. And if we have that infrastructure in place, that's the only thing I could possibly imagine would work.
I guess that makes, we're about as smart as you are. At least we know you're a member of the team.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Of course.
Mary?
I just have one follow-up question. Just to let you know, it was Halifax where the plane landed. And it was a movie too. And then there was a couple.
Gander, Newfoundland.
Gander, Newfoundland.
There's
Thank
a
you.
Broadway
Yep.
play about it too.
Great
from
movie.
away.
Great movie.
Yeah.
But just to let you know, back in the 80s, we actually did that. We had a whole boat of day trippers from the Highland that got stuck here on Stroll Saturday. And, everyone opened up their house and took them in. It was great fun. But my other question is, why did you decide not to do H2Bs if you can share?
The sponsorship process, we've got one HR rep who serves all of our parent company and all of our properties. And if I have the team already built, then I don't necessarily need the H2B or have her go through the time and process to do that. Maybe in the future, I know we've done it in the past, perhaps next year, but it was just a decision that we made early on, thinking that we were going to be all set for this year.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Sharon, did you raise your hand? No? Okay. Anyone else? All right. I think that is it. Garrison, thank you so much for joining us. You gave us a lot of information that really helps us shape a picture of what the season's going to look like.
Very kind, Josh. Thank you very much. Thank you all for having me. I will be at Veranda House is doing the Chamber of Commerce thing this Thursday, meet and greet after hours. So hopefully see some of you there in person. And if not, I'll see you around town. And thank you very much for having me. David, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
All right. The next item was continuation on stranded passengers discussion. Sharon?
Janet, were you raising your hand?
I was just going to say that was Liz's topic, but she said you had some information. She's got more.
Yep. So Liz and I touched base this morning. She and I have been working a little bit offline on some of this. We put together a rough budget of what we would need. She's had a number of conversations with folks at the VFW about potentially using space. Spoken to the folks at the airport. She's in a conversation with the owner, general manager at Nantucket Inn about space. And it looks like a plan is coming together. Everybody that we're talking to or she's talking to is very supportive and positive about helping out. And we're hoping that by June 1, we'll have a workable plan. Generally, the idea is to find a large space like the VFW, to use transportation from like Nantucket Island Tours to bring people out there, provide cots. There's these cots that the Coast Guard station uses that are very inexpensive and they kind of pop open and They're $68 a piece on Amazon. So we could buy, say, like 50 or 75 of these, and then very quickly just set up a space out there at the VFW. We don't have approval yet with the VFW, but it could be one of those large spaces. Perhaps we split people up to maybe Nantucket Ballroom or some other location. But she will have more details next week or next session. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Liz or myself. I think maybe Peter and Mary have also been involved, so they may have some other angle to share.
Peter?
I do have an angle. I'm with the Nantucket Shellfish Association, and I will simply, drop on you, the cluster bomb idea that the NSA has established a stranded scallop strike force. And it's just what you might think it is. When there's a scallop stranding, there's a bunch of people, probably heavily weighted with fishermen, but nonetheless organized by the Nantucket Shellfish Association, that go out 24/7 with their equipment and will move a couple of tons of scallops that are up on the beach and put them back somewhere. And they'll do that rain or shine, day or night, 24/7. I'm not saying that these guys are available to handle a stranded passenger thing, but the model is there. And I can think of at least one way where this might be an added enhancement, which is there's probably a list that I can get of 20 or 30 people who are longtime Nantucketers who would say, yeah, if you got a stranded passenger problem, I'll get in my car and haul some of them from A to B for an hour or two, or do something. It's a force that is mobilized, that is organized for that purpose, and they are long enough term Nantucketers that I think they would go for it like an Alaskan Husky.
Yeah, I think
Just an
that's
idea.
great to have.
Write it down somewhere.
Yeah, well, I think the idea of having a on-call group of people
Yeah.
that can jump in and help with whatever we didn't anticipate. Somebody is sick and needs a ride to the hospital and whatever, I don't know. But and it's not an emergency, but they just need something. So I think we should, if we have a list like that, absolutely get it to Liz or reach out to the organization that owns it and see if they're willing to repurpose it for this and share. I think Liz would love to have an on-call list of people that can jump in an emergency.
I'll do that. I'll bring it up with these folks and just see what they think of it. I mean, I think it's a nice, a buffer thing to have, because you don't have enough, you don't have enough vehicles on island to handle a true mass thing where you got, hundreds of people who don't want to wait 2 hours for a bus. They just, you just get a strike force in and say, I can take you from A to B and help solve the problem. I'll bring it up with NSA and I'll see what I can find out.
Great, thank you.
I'll add something. Obviously, the town has an emergency preparedness mission, and it's always been active. I think it's lost some leadership because some people have left and moved, and actually some of them have passed away over the years. So I think that's another vehicle, because you're going to have to get the town behind you on whatever we propose to do, just so that they're the source of information, as is, David and Visitor Services, because they're the ones that always used to set up things at the school, and bring in those people. So I talked with Liz a little bit about that and expanding that and what you guys are already working on.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. I think we started there, and I think the response that I think she had received, and maybe Janet knows more about the rules around this, but I think the idea was if it was a natural disaster, the town is responsible and the Red Cross gets involved and the school gets opened, and there's a whole system that is established to handle that. I think the thing she ran into was if it's a private entity like the High Line that can't run their last boat and there's 75 people that got stuck, that really or the airport had an issue, it was really up to the airline carrier or the boat carrier to deal with their own clients, not the town. So Janet or David, you might know more about where the boundary is. I don't know.
I think you articulated it clearly. The town has no control over what private enterprises decide to do. And like last year, the Highline managed to solve their own problem when those people got stranded when their boat didn't run.
Peter?
Well, I'll just express a personal point of view. I think that's a totally uninspired perspective. And I'm not in favor of visitor services taking this on other than to advocate for some arrangement, however we can facilitate saying, you know, here are the pieces of the thing, you can put it to, somebody should put it together because there is a collective concern here over the visitor experience. And there's the Harvard Business Review article that states the last experience the visitor has sticks with them. And if you want the economy, the tourist economy to thrive, you want that to be a good experience rather than a bad one.
Sharon?
So I think, Peter, I think everyone is totally in agreement on that. I think the idea was we are going to take responsibility for putting a tentative plan together and share it with the town and see what kind of collaboration we can get from the town and try and encourage that. Now, we don't have control. We can't force the town to do it. But I think if we say, look, as private entities, this is as far as we've taken it. Is there some way you can help out with something, you know, opening the gym for us, for instance, because we've tried the VFW, we tried the ballroom, and we can't get it. Are you willing to let us use the school? So I think the idea was the private entities were going to do as much as they could and then go back to the town, keep the town informed on what was going on, and see if there was a way we could do a public-private collaborative on any of the missing pieces.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm advocating. I am absolutely not advocating our being the ones who make this happen. I'm just saying, present the plan, say it's doable, or just outline a plan. Don't do a plan, outline a plan, say it's all doable. Here are the pieces of it. And then, you know, advocate for it in the public sector until you get enough people at town meeting or whoever, you know, to say, hey, we want this done. And we don't have the resources to do this. We just have the ideas.
Anyone else? All right. Janet, director's report.
Thank you.
Janet, before you start, I'm sorry, Janet, I'm
Sure.
going to have to drop off. I have to be at a 9 o'clock meeting at work. So
No
I'm
worries.
going to pop out before we get going on that. So I apologize, Janet. And
All right. We'll see you later.
I have a short report today, focused mostly on cultural issues. The Cultural District is continuing to develop its new website and will be offering a training for nonprofits about how to use that later this month or early May. The plan is to launch that website by Memorial Day. The local cultural council, which awards grants to various individuals and nonprofits, is hosting an award recognition event at the White Heron Theater on May 17th. And there will be 3 years of recipients being recognized. It's also an opportunity to give more information to other potential awardees about what the Cultural Council does, and an opportunity to try to raise some more money to give away more money to different organizations. I attended a Destination Stewardship Summit meeting last week in Dennis called Take Care of the Cape and Islands. It was all about how different destination locations are managing tourist expectations around things like taking care of the places that they go to, like not littering and that kind of business. And the town has done a lot of that in terms of Stop the Straw and the water balloon thing. So I think we're cutting edge on that kind of information, but it's always good to be affirmed when you go to those things. And they use Tahoe as the key example of how that region is working on those issues. And We've had 28 applications for the Director of Culture and Tourism position. We interviewed 7 last week and recommending 4 up to Libby for her interview. So there's some hope that that might be filled before the start of the season by Memorial Day. And that is my report.
Thank you, Janet. Do you have an end date?
I have an appointment letter that says the 19th is when I change roles, but they're also going to extend that until there wants to be some overlap between me and the incoming director, so it's
Right.
flexible.
And then my follow-up to that would be, I can't remember, do we usually have meetings through June and then take a break for the summer? I can't remember what month we start the hiatus.
Do we have a meeting in June, David?
Usually it's July, August. We usually skip one of those or both. So
Last year, I think it was both.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
so it's
So yes, we have a June meeting.
yeah.
All right. David, your report.
Okay. Like Janet's, mine is short. I have provided the stats for March. We had 117 visitors, which is up over last year. And the same amount of phone calls from last year, and 21 mailings. Again, we're having issues with the download report. It used to be that I was able to go through and find those very easily, and then the town, through the web hosting company Civic Plus, pulled the plug on the download information, and now it's all being migrated to Google Analytics. I'm working with somebody in IT to, unfortunately, I can't go through that now, so I have to ask this person in IT, and that person has been away the last few days. So hopefully I'll have something for you in the May meeting for all these downloads, especially the restaurant list, which always is far and by the runaway popular download. And then this weekend we're going to be open on Saturday all day, 9 to 5. We'll be closed on Sunday, Easter Sunday, and then we'll be open on Patriots Day Monday for the morning. And then the following week is Daffodil Weekend or week. And I will have staff on for that. So we're slowly getting staff, but too, we're advertising for more staff in the summertime because we anticipate to be busy and want to make sure that all our locations are fully staffed. So if you guys know of anybody, feel free to reach out and let them apply with the town HR department. So we're looking forward to a great summer, but we want to get there with enough people and make sure we have the places open that are not going to be closed. So so keep your fingers crossed. Other than that, that's all I've got.
Do we have ideas for a speaker for next time, or do you guys want to handle that offline?
I guess Janet and I could discuss offline.
Okay.
Does anybody here have a suggestion for who they'd like to hear from? Then we'll look at it offline.
Sarah?
I just was suggesting the new chamber director might be, he just started yesterday, so that might be a.
Right. And he was involved with Cisco before then, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, he'd probably be a good one.
Just to hear about the direction that he plans to bring to the chamber possibly.
Perfect. And then let's see. I think unless anyone has anything else, we're ready for the motion to adjourn.
Just one other thing, and Niles is coming back to the NHA. A lot of
Right.
us know Niles, so in the fall maybe he would be one. Let him get his feet back into the sand of Nantucket.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's
I
gonna be
know,
great to have Niles back.
yeah. I know he's very busy right now with David and Beverly getting ready for that show. So
Exactly.
yes. But that was a great idea as well. All right, perfect. Motion to adjourn the Visitor Services Advisory Committee. Do you have a second?
Second by Peter.
All right. Thank you all and have a great daffodil weekend, and we'll see you in May.
Okay.
Thank
All
you. Bye.
Bye.